This is day 800 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. It's got to be something significant in being day 800. We are doing today Tafkuf Aleph Gimel to Tafkuf Aleph Yud Aleph. If you'd like to sponsor upcoming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, it's going to be directly. It'd be very greatly appreciated. Okay. Gimel Vinish Brakar Me'er Yontif. If the beam broke from before Yontif, Mutar Asik Yontif, allowed to use it for fuel on Yontif. Excuse me. And then Mishan Prek Dal Beit Omer Avo Bakar Shish Ba Me'er Yontif Mutar B'Shein Bohem Torah Kli. Shami says only if it doesn't have the name of a vessel anymore. V'Yesh Torah V clearly has the countenance of a vessel. It has the countenance of a vessel. I think the Shemar Yontif, even if it's only for Yontif, also it's forbidden. But after that it says you can use kalim as fuel and not broken piece of kalim. Kalim she's b'yontif. That's a kalim which are broken on yontif. Avanish beru me'erev yontif, but if they're broken from erev yontif, mutar. It's mutar. B'shein lehem b'shein Torah kli if it doesn't have the countenance of a vessel. Yesh lehem Torah kli. If they do have a Torah keli, afilu b'nishbu b'yontif mutar. Even they're broken on yontif, it's mutar akal lashono. Very confusing, obviously. This is what it means. The Korashish by Me'er of Yontiv, a beam which broke before Yontiv, the Mutter, is permitted Nation Medicine, Saka Me'er of Yontiv. Ready is omate is ready as fuel. This is all it's good for. Zeuk Shaloni Sharla to Tumunas Klid, so it doesn't look like a vessel anymore. Klamar Tumunas Korah doesn't look like a beam anymore. Sharla Tumunas Korah still looks like a beam. Harayadani Korah Shlema. It's still like a whole beam, which is made for a purpose of construction. Vave Muktzah, whenever it's Muktzah. Kalim, and by vessels where halacha is that you can make a fire with a vessel with whole vessels, but not with broken vessels. You shouldn't have a nolat because it is it's a nolat on Shabbat on the Yontif. The ain is sarak b'nishu b'Yontif. It's only if they broke a Yontif that became no longer kalim, but now are fuel. Now I feel nishu b'Yontif, but even if they're broken Yontif, that nishu leim Torah keli. But they still have the countenance of a vessel, have a kli shlema. It's like a kli shalim. It's not no one. You can use it. So by kalim, ironically, counterintuitively somewhat, it's better if it retains a Torah kli. But by a beam, it's a problem because the kli shlema masikin because you can use a whole keli to make a hesek, make a fire. Of course, I'm emasikin. You can't use a whole beam. Yesh Yerushalmi because there's this Torah. Some people say the Yerushalmi contradicts itself. From which Shiva says there's a distortion here. And okay, it's not true. Yerushalmi asi shapir. Okay, the Yerushalmi works out well because the Achaz Korah is it retains the shame Korah. It's good. Tain's Shem Korah, it's bad because it's still Oimei Labinian, and it's kind of like a Muktzah Machmas Ches on Keys type of thing. So it's not something which is usable on Yontif. So therefore, as long as a Torah Kaira, it's no good. But a Keli is usable in Yontif, so as long as it still looks like a Keli, it's not no lot and it is good. Okay, this says the brackets. I'm going to same because I've been writes to two Gersos in Yerushalmi, which happens sometimes. You two posing Gersos, and therefore it's no lot. The first opinion is according to those, it's forbidden to use kalim as fuel. All those are difficult and astonishing. And the truth is like he wrote the Torah kalim that the countenance of a keli is in the beam. Right. It just sounds like it's a typo here. My Torah keli to be called avi kikoira. I think it's also chenkosal korban eda v'shiyar korban and shembeduk. Hey, the korashish from Erev Yontif, a beam which over Erev Yontif. Every single will be cool cloud. You can use it for fuel without splitting it further. Also about care, you're not allowed to split it. The Evershah single blow, we can't use this fuel without splitting it further. Vacuum goes, you can chip off of it large pieces of look down, so not small pieces. Tamashadavar, and the reason is she'ain lechas be cool docha Yontif. Splitting it up into pieces does not push up Yontif. These are preparations could have done before Yontif. But they're big pieces, so then it's not a malacha, it's just tircha. Mishum kav yontav itiran, because kav yontav they allow this. Even though somebody who grinds up wood into small pieces is chai because of grinding on Shabbos, or yontav, also that's why you can't cut small pieces. But large pieces don't have the problem of grinding. Sugar's counsel is bar. It's hard to know what the difference is. But what's your go? What's your cousin? But one thing, if you're meticulous in being precise in how you split the wood, that's no good. That's the prohibition of mechatech, cutting something to a specific size. So you never heard of people cutting up wood on Yontif. Misha Mukhrul says something has a problem, is compelled to do so. Yivakim and Yehudi as a non-Jew split them or break them up. There's those say the Eitzim Abik Ochel Nevesh Atzma. The wood for fuel is like Ochel Nevesh itself. Why? Because you can heat yourself with the wood. Since you're allowed to split them for the purpose of heating, allowed to do it also for the purpose of cooking. That's Magen Avram, the name of the Ran. Arukh HaShulchan says, okay, maybe. So when it's cold. And only where you're heating requires small pieces. If not, you have to lead close to Shilzeh. You will not be pushed off of this. And that is very rare. It says in brackets, a field pizza also, even that scenario, if you need small pieces. Right, to heat yourself up, it's only mutzah shinui. Vav, ukshim vakeah. Well, obviously, we just say you're not supposed to be vakeah. But if you are vakeah, le vakeah lo b'kadom, below magav gears, that's what you just said. In brackets, it should be with a shinui. Don't use an axe. Don't use a sickle or a saw. Shalo yasek der shlo sabachol. Shouldn't do like you do on weekday. Bekupitz with a chopper. Busakin shagatzavim, like a butcher's knife. Yesho simbo shnei roshim doimek saskarim. Some people make it with two heads, similar to an axe. I feel kupitz leiv kam b'tzad rochav shalo. Even with the chopper, you should not use the broad side, b'tzad a kutzer, but the narrow side. The Torah says you use a kubitz. A cleaver. Kubitz is a cleaver. That's what it is. We don't have these cleavers which have heads on both sides. We don't know exactly what it is. It's not prevalent among us. Not prevalent among us. You're only allowed to use a knife. You need a knife for sure. Everybody can tell it's not like a weekday. But Rabbi Yann explained that in vacuum you don't have to cloud. We don't have to be quiet. You don't have to at all. In Chol Moed, the people who are meticulous don't cut up the wood. And they prepare everything for them. So I feel even small piece of wood which they need to cook fish. But it's necessary to be permitted. The Mishnah Berurah says a place where wood is very expensive, and it's a dover hefsted and a dover avod. If you just take large pieces and burn them, so it's a mitzvah to cut them to small pieces. I'm not sure it means a Chol Moed or even a Yontif. Sounds like Chol Moed. If Yontif Yasai Day and Yehudi by Yontif do by non-Jew Miyav Sharba V'nachem, there's no other possibility of dealing with it. What are we going to do? With Gamza Ide Shinik Sas, also this should be done with the Shinoi. Get the non-Jew to do the Shinoi. With Tzina and in private, and very little. Should Tzina raise a Chil Yontif, have a Chil Yontif. Because by us would be Chil Yontif to have the non-Jew do it. You have to have them do it in a different way. Sign 18 wood, which is somewhat large. It's suitable for fuel without cutting them up. Certainly not allowed to cut them up. Meaning to break them beyond with your hand. Also, the Torah says forbidden. Sometimes you're allowed to cut them, break them with your hand. Even to put them into a hole, I guess, and then snap it. You can't snap it with a stone. It says in Tosefta you're not supposed to put a stone on top of a wood chip to show it to break it. You put it into a hole, and then break it off. So it's mutter even in a hole, certainly with a hand. It says brackets on prichodesh she'osa. Prichodesh says it's no good. And some Rishon says some agree with prichodesh. Ches, Rambam Perik Dal. The Rambam says, why did they ask you to say cat, axe, and anything similar? Shouldn't do like it does on weekday. You could have split it before Yontif. Lama lo ne'asar b'kol klal. Why do we not answer the splitting altogether? Um, because maybe you come across a thick piece of wood, and you won't be able to ignite it properly. You refrain from cooking. That's allowed you to cut it up with a shino. Everything is similar to this. They permit for this reason. They permitted with that which they permitted and forbade that which they forbade. Well, be as far up. Shari l'chora afim need nam ezel ochel nefesh. It means it says even if it's like ochel nefesh. That's ish mishon shiva sife, like the opinion we brought down previously. Have gankin a kapanim midrabanan also still it's midrabanan also. Shev shal asos mi esmo if you do from yesterday, much comes to seem tough to try to cake. Koshim zel machshin, and certainly if this is a preparation for ochel nefesh. Achachamim rosh shadov zeh have a key ev shal asos mi esmo. I said to a certain extent, it's like saying what you couldn't do from yesterday. If you prepared wood, you can't know which is too thick and which is properly thin. When you cook, you have to pay attention to that. Uh, they share slavery can be matter through a machinery. And says anything similar. And that's why this they matter. This is answered. Yes, that's totally because Maruba. It was Chazal's great wisdom. Alvina has skills to understand and perceive. Eza Davish Shaderach so what's something which you should have done yesterday, Eza Davish and so which you didn't have to do yesterday. And we can ask why this the answer and this the Ramatir. I'd also like to add that since these things are not necessarily all decreed at one time, so they're not necessarily consistent across the board. Test beyond the wood which uses fuel in to be prepared. Look at muksa, not its muksa. I feel man the lace the muksa, even those don't hold a muksa. Me come looked on mat who commemorate to gather wood, twigs, little by little, is like making sheaves. And that's awesome. Occasionally, some say there ain't more amokum doing. There's only more where the things grow out in the field. Field that's so you can't bring wood out from the field. I feel if they were collected from beforehand. The Ainkan Muktzah says no Muktzah because they're designated. Nevertheless, we should ask it lest you come to gather scattered ones. Yes, is a Ma'amer, because it could be Ma'amer, have it Issa Deraisa, which is a Torah prohibition. Allah is not so clear happy that it says the place of Chachamim say he was Mesiach Das, he gets distracted, he prepared them initially, it doesn't work because he didn't definitely have Kamiros Das for it. Okay. Anyway, B.S. and May says the Arukh HaShulchan further. But you can pick up twigs in your field, in your yard. There's from front of you. Some of the roots are right in front, right before your pot, right in front of your pot. Was studying about in the field if you're cooking there. There's that only commandment. That doesn't look like making sheaves. His pot proves it doesn't do it. It's not doing stock about for the market. That like a ma'amer is, and so Bishop is doing for the purpose of cooking. Those are forbidden in the field. The field always looks like you're bundling sheaves together. Which you feel it's muksa, but come much with the chutzer, even the chutzer is muchan, it's prepared. That's what I'm back based on you. Even the field that which is right in front of him, it's not muksa. Why? Because they say that was right in front of him. Bade daito ze merviant. We suddenly have mind very young to have to use this. He said bade loya with daito ze. But a muksa also. So we didn't have mind. Definitely didn't have mind. It's muksa and forbidden. If the wood was in an area which is surrounded by walls, I feel low cover there. Even that area is not designated for human habitation. If this area was in Tchum Shabbos, Yeshua Mizgerish and Amokum Hefker has a framework. In other words, a fencing that's not a place of Hefker. Mutzah Mitol Sham is designated. It's allowed to take the wood from there. If you're missing one of these conditions, that it's enclosed, it's in the tchum, right? And it's not a place of hefker. Then you can't have the words having muktzah word is muktzah. Mishabur says that that's because it's like either because of uvda the chol, or because of the issue of ma'amer. And some say this halacha is kibshuta, the missing one of these conditions, mistama, you were made this misiach das. You were not no longer had intent for this, from using this in yontif. If it's muksa. So according to this, some of those who permit muksa yontif would be matir here. The Dina, he says, it should be machmir, unless you meet all the criteria. Torah koshu samachlir, according to Torah, anything which is near the city. The Torah shivim amos, within 70 amos and 4 tvachim, shesai bur shalir, which is considered the outer border of the city. I feel aim bom is gerets, even if it's not in an enclosed area, it's mutter, but sure passing that way as well. The sukkah chatzer mamish, because then it's literally like a yard. Famous in muksa, there's no muksa about gam lo mechzik grammar, it doesn't look like mamer. Shem nachem b'seder b'shus hamukah b'chis, because they're put down in order in a place surrounded by walls. You have ali lanos, leaves of trees, and leaves of vines and of grapevines. Even if they're in this enclosed area. Since the wind can scatter them. They're scattered. And therefore they've been either because muksa or because of ma'amer. If the leaves, however, are hanging from branches, they're not light, and we will scatter them. It's okay as long as they're already collected. But otherwise you can't collect them. You can't ask, well, if at the time you take them, the wind doesn't scatter them, what's the problem? I'm afraid the wind will come and they're going to scatter, you're going to collect them afterwards, which is mamer. If we put on the leaves, kli kavim me'er b'yantiv, something heavy from me'er b'yantiv, davar shemutza talta, of course, something which you can carry. Mutza litan b'yantiv will have to take the leaves on yantiv. The yevshal l'ruch pazon, wind won't scatter them. Ve'ena muksim, they're not muksa gam lo mechsim chayzkim, but it doesn't look like imur either. Mishabura writes that if you found a yantiv that they're scattered, so if the issue is muksa, they'd still be mutza. If it was ma'amer, obviously they'd be awesome. Ve'etzim shenosh me'an ilan, wood which fell off a tree, b'yantiv, you can't use them as fuel, because that wood is not mikara. Elam first was a tree vashtates, and now it's wood. You might go up actually and pluck branches of the tree. If they fell directly into the oven, it's better to see tough that will be explained later on. He says that since there's an issue of Shemayal Yizlo, Mishnah says therefore, even though there's a matir muktzan yantiv would be aser over here.